Shirley Jackson wrote The Haunting of Hill House. It's a scary story about a spooky house. The book came out in 1959. Many people think it's one of the best horror novels ever. Shirley Jackson was known for writing creepy stories. She was really good at making people feel scared. Her words paint pictures in your mind. Those pictures are full of shadows and unsettling feelings. Hill House is more than just a house in the story. It's almost like a character. It's a dark presence that messes with the people who dare to stay there. The house is full of secrets and sadness. It wants to trap people inside its walls forever.
Hill House is in a lonely place far from any town. It's a big, sprawling mansion full of dark corners. The house has long corridors that seem to go on forever. There are rooms where the shadows seem to move.
Dr. Montague is a paranormal investigator. He wants to learn about ghosts. He invites a group of people to stay in Hill House with him. He wants to study the house and see if it's really haunted.
The group includes Eleanor Vance, Theodora, and me, Luke. Each person has their reasons for coming to Hill House. We all have our secrets and fears. Little do we know that Hill House will use those fears against us. As soon as we arrive, strange things start happening. We hear noises. Doors open and close on their own. A feeling of dread hangs over everything. This house is truly haunted.
The guests start to experience the strange things about Hill House. Eleanor, who is troubled, seems drawn to the house. She sees things that others don't. She hears voices calling her name.
At night, the characters hear loud noises. The walls vibrate. It feels like the house is alive. They find messages written on the walls warning them to leave, but they stay, caught in the grip of the house. One night, the characters feel a cold spot in the nursery. The temperature drops. They feel a presence there, something unseen but powerful. This is one of the most frightening parts of the book. The house preys on their weaknesses. It whispers to them in their sleep. The guests start to doubt their sanity. They don't know what's real and what's in their minds.
The Haunting of Hill House is about more than just a scary house. It's really about the darkness inside people. The house brings out the worst in everyone.
The characters are afraid of the house, but they're also afraid of themselves. They're haunted by their pasts, their mistakes, and their secrets. The house feeds on those fears.
As the characters experience more scary things, they turn on each other. They suspect that someone in the group might be causing the events. Their fear turns to paranoia and distrust.
The house isolates them. It makes them question their sanity. In the end, the characters have to confront their deepest fears to survive.
Section 5. A Legacy of Terror Hill House's Enduring Impact. The Haunting of Hill House is still scary today. It's a classic of horror literature. Many people have read it and been scared by its story. Shirley Jackson's writing style is a big reason for the book's success. She uses simple language, but her words are powerful. She creates a sense of dread that stays with you long after you finish the book. The book has inspired many other horror stories. It's been adapted into movies and TV shows. The story of Hill House continues to scare new generations of readers. The novel's exploration of psychological horror makes it timeless. It reminds us that the scariest monsters are often the ones we create in our own minds.
The characters in The Haunting of Hill House are fascinating. Each one carries their own baggage. This makes them vulnerable to the house's influence.
Eleanor Vance is the most complex character. She's deeply troubled and lonely, drawn to the possibility of the supernatural. She sees Hill House as a place where she might finally belong. Tragically, her longing for connection blinds her to the true nature of the house's evil.
Theodora is more pragmatic and cynical. She tries to rationalize the strange events. But even her strong will begins to crumble under the house's pressure. She represents the struggle between logic and the unexplainable.
Luke is charming, but irresponsible. He tries to make light of the situation, but he's also drawn to the danger. He represents the allure of the forbidden and the price of recklessness.
Section 7. Eleanor Vance, a fragile soul in a haunted house. Eleanor Vance is the heart of The Haunting of Hill House. She is a lonely and fragile young woman. She has a difficult past and a strained relationship with her family. She desperately wants to find a place where she belongs. Eleanor is drawn to Hill House. She hopes to find acceptance and connection there. However, her longing for belonging makes her vulnerable to the house's influence. The house recognizes her desperation and preys upon her insecurities. As the story unfolds, Eleanor becomes increasingly unstable. She experiences vivid hallucinations and becomes convinced that the house is trying to communicate with her. She starts to lose her grip on reality, blurring the lines between the supernatural and her own inner demons. Eleanor's tragic fate serves as a warning about the dangers of seeking solace in the wrong places. Her story highlights how our deepest desires can be manipulated, especially when we are at our most vulnerable.
Section 8. The haunting atmosphere. Unease in every shadow. Shirley Jackson was a master of creating atmosphere. In The Haunting of Hill House, she uses vivid descriptions and subtle hints to build a sense of unease that permeates every page. The house itself is described as being alive. It has a presence that is both alluring and terrifying. The architecture is confusing and unsettling, with long corridors, odd angles, and rooms that seem to shift and change. Jackson uses sensory details to great effect. She describes the feeling of cold drafts, the smell of dampness and decay, and the sound of whispers carried on the wind. These sensory details create a palpable sense of dread, immersing the reader in the character's fear and paranoia. The constant tension between the real and the imagined keeps the reader guessing. Is the house truly haunted, or are the characters simply losing their minds? This ambiguity is part of what makes The Haunting of Hill House so effective. It leaves the reader with a lingering sense of unease long after the book is finished.
Section 9. The Power of Suggestion. Is the horror real or imagined? One of the most unsettling aspects of The Haunting of Hill House is the uncertainty surrounding the supernatural events. Jackson masterfully blurs the lines between reality and delusion, leaving the reader to question what is real and what is imagined. The characters experience a range of strange phenomena, from disembodied voices to objects moving on their own. However, these events are often open to interpretation. Are they genuine supernatural occurrences, or are they products of the characters' increasingly fragile mental states? This ambiguity is heightened by the characters' own biases and fears. Eleanor, for example, is predisposed to believe in the supernatural. Her desperation for connection makes her susceptible to suggestion. As a result, she interprets events through the lens of her own anxieties. The novel suggests that the true horror may lie not in the supernatural itself, but in our own minds. Our fears, insecurities, and past traumas can distort our perceptions, making us vulnerable to suggestion and self-deception.
Section 10. Hill House's Legacy, a Blueprint for Modern Horror. The Haunting of Hill House has had a profound impact on the horror genre. Its influence can be seen in countless books, films, and television shows that have followed. Jackson's novel popularized the haunted house trope, establishing many of the conventions that are still used today. The isolated location, the unsettling atmosphere, and the gradual unraveling of the character's sanity have become staples of the genre. More importantly, Jackson's novel shifted the focus of horror from external threats to internal ones. The Haunting of Hill House is as much about the psychology of fear as it is about ghosts and ghouls. It explores the ways in which our own minds can be our greatest enemy, especially when we are confronted with the unknown. This emphasis on psychological horror has been highly influential. Modern horror often draws on themes of trauma, mental illness, and the fragility of the human psyche. The Haunting of Hill House paved the way for this more nuanced and terrifying approach to the genre. Section 11. A Timeless Terror. Why Hill House Still Haunts Us. Over 6 decades after its publication, The Haunting of Hill House continues to terrify and fascinate readers. Its enduring appeal lies in its ability to tap into our deepest fears and anxieties. The novel explores universal themes of isolation, loneliness, and the human need for connection. These themes resonate with readers across generations, regardless of their cultural background or personal beliefs. The ambiguity of the supernatural events is another key factor in the novel's enduring popularity. By leaving room for interpretation, Jackson allows the reader to fill in the blanks with their own fears and imaginations. This makes the story even more terrifying, as the true horror becomes intensely personal. Ultimately, The Haunting of Hill House reminds us that the scariest monsters are often the ones we carry within ourselves. Our own minds can be our greatest source of fear and despair. This timeless message ensures that Hill House will continue to cast a long shadow over the world of horror literature for many years to come.